characters, even at the beginning. Like, let's just talk about Crazy Ralph for a second. He's the smartest guy in all of Camp Crystal. Like, he gets it.
Yep.
You know?
Welcome, Earthlings, to the latest episode of the Wreak Havoc Film Bust podcast. I'm your host, Dan Sellers, along with my hockey mask-wearing co-host, Mr.
Sammie Castle.
We are joined here today by a very special guest, especially with this topic. I'll let him introduce himself. Mr.
Hi, guys. I'm Matt Patterson.
Thanks for...
Me and Dan are eating.
Sorry. Got some apple fritters here. Yeah, thanks for coming on the show, Matt.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
And if you can't tell already, we're talking about Friday the 13th. A slasher horror classic, and we'll get back into that in just a minute. What's new, guys? Matt, you work at Kersey Valley Spooky Woods.
Yeah.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'm the lab manager for Kersey Valley Spooky Woods. I've been there for about 4 years. I help design the monsters, the overall look of the show, sets, help train actors, do makeups.
It must keep you pretty busy then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's that time of the year. You know, we're right about halfway point, and, you know, the season's been great. We've been getting a lot of good feedback from folks, so it's been a good year. Lots of people coming out this year.
Yes,
so.
folks, this is a lesson. Two people from two different haunts can sit down together
And break bread.
and break apple fritters
Break apple fritters.
and be buddies.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody that does this. You know, a lot of people, I feel like there has to be that rivalry between haunts, and that's not it. If anything, we should get along better than anybody because we know what everybody's going through.
Yep.
You know, when it's 3:30 in the morning and you're still working and you're cold and you're tired and you're hungry and you don't want to put up with that drunk guy, but you go and perform for him, like, that's a rare thing to have in common with people. Yeah. So I don't understand why haunted houses feel like they have to try to one-up each other. We're all in it together.
Meanwhile, this week, I have been dealing with someone hacking into our website and hijacking it.
Oh, no.
From another haunt.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all. Why? First, and they spent money to boost the post.
I don't get it.
Why?
I don't get why we attack each other.
Oh, yeah.
If people would just work together, things would be a lot better for everyone.
Absolutely.
You know.
So how many customers do you guys anticipate this year?
You know, that's something we really don't talk much about. I'll tell you tens of thousands.
Yeah. I assumed it was that much.
I can tell you that on one of our busiest nights, people were waiting 5 hours to get in the show. You guys come down the highway over here. I'm fortunate enough to live on the backside of the property of Kersey Valley. The traffic was backed all the way up onto the highway.
Oh, wow.
And you have to come around this way to get into the show.
One of those
So have I.
Even with the VIP, I always get the VIP passes. And it's sometimes I went a couple weeks ago and it was great. No wait hardly at all. It still took 55 minutes to get through, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I've also been at peak season 2. And it's a good it's a good wait.
I always tell people and try to encourage them to come on a Thursday or a Sunday. You know, the tickets are a little bit cheaper. Plus, if you come on a Thursday, the actors are fresh. They're not beat to death. You know, we drive our actors. If you come to our show, I want my actors to perform for you. You know, that's something we push. I always tell people, come on a Thursday. You're not going to wait in those lines, and you're still going to get a great show.
How about the couple days after Halloween? How busy are those days?
I find that those is when the true fans come out.
Yeah.
You know, the people that want to take their time and walk the set and appreciate the art. We make about 85 to 90% of everything that goes into our show. We sculpt our own mask. In fact, we only bought one mask this year. That's it. Everything else was made in-house.
Wow.
We make all of our own costumes. We sculpted a 30-some foot tall castle this year. You know, that's one of the sets.
Yeah.
Beautiful castle.
We put in a restaurant that I designed. It's called the Q&U Diner. You know, and it feels like you're in a real diner. You know,
That was very cool.
Oh, thank you. You know, so
the only issue I ever have with Spooky Woods is that usually I get paired up with like a group of teenagers.
Yeah.
And they're so scared to death. They start pushing me. And I'm like, slow the hell down. I want to enjoy this. Appreciate the production design, which is with very high production value.
Thank you.
And I'm one of those nerds that just loves to walk through as slow as I can. just as slow as humanly possible.
See all the little nuances and stuff.
Yeah, and look at everything.
And honestly, that's why we stay open that weekend after Halloween, because you are the kind of folks that come out who want to look at the nooks and crannies and go, "Holy crap! Look at that! They actually sculpted all those stones, you know." So that's why we stay open those weekends, and I love it because people do get a chance to see those things.
I'll probably get shot for telling you this. And if this podcast ever gets out, I'm going to hear, why the hell are you promoting Spooky Woods? This year in November, we're going to do a Day of the Dead
Oh, cool!
theme.
Cool.
Where I'm going to be all in Sugar Skull. And
That's awesome.
Yeah,
We'll teach you some Spanish between now and
Yeah,
then.
well, I know Spanish. I know some Spanish.
I love that idea. I feel like it's something really cool. Your guys' show could definitely pull that off.
Yep.
It's not an easy thing to pull off because it's a very particular look and style.
Yep.
No, that'd be awesome. That'd be something.
And our
really
head
cool.
makeup artist, Mona, is Latino. So
cool.
she's, I don't know if she drove it a little bit or put the idea in somebody's head, but yeah, I kind of like the idea too.
That's an awesome idea. No, but yes, we are from two different haunted houses, and we actually
And we're
enjoy
advertising it,
and
so-
we actually enjoy each other's company and conversation. So
Very cool. This episode will drop this coming Friday, which means the same night that we have our next screening of Trouble Will Cause, our true crime documentary. So it's a little late to promote that, but I'm hoping it went well. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Tomorrow, Saturday, what's that, the 28th? Saturday the 28th?
Something like that.
I'll be giving a second live reading of Carolina Hanks this year at Carolina Theater.
27th.
27th for their paranormal
Saturday.
night. And I believe tickets are still available. I'm not sure, but if you can manage to get a ticket between hearing this and Saturday night, it's definitely worth it. Especially if you have any interest in ghosts at all. So, not only will you get to see me, you get to be a part of paranormal investigation. So,
which I gotta say, not to get off track, but I was at the Wreak Havoc Film Festival.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, one of the films that I actually worked on premiered.
Oh, cool.
Belladonna. And man, what a great film festival.
What a great movie, yeah.
If you guys didn't go this year, you really missed out. The film festival
did.
was just really awesome.
Thank you.
Really cool space. I really enjoyed it.
well, our listeners have probably heard me gush over Belladonna enough already. I loved it.
We did a whole podcast about the film festival and the movies. and,
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Brett and Belladonna were a hot topic.
Joe Harp, Sarai Davis, and myself, we were the ones that did the special effects for that film. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we loved it.
Great.
Well,
And good people.
all
three of them.
Yeah. Well, you got anything you want to plug before we get started?
No. Okay. I'm tired. I'm technically, if you look at the grand scheme of things, this is my third job of the day. Before I head to my fourth job of the day, 3 of which I get paid for. So yeah, I'm pretty tired right
Here, I'm
now.
gonna give you $1 so you can say you didn't pay for it. I pay you with apple fritters. What
There
else
we
do you
go.
want? Okay, well,
All right.
A very good apple fritter, might I
yeah,
add.
Granny's. Shout out to Granny's. Sponsor of the show. Not really, but maybe someday.
All right.
All right, we'll start.
Shall we?
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Let's get started.
I don't know how. Can you tell how the volume for the movie's picking up?
Yeah, it's good.
It's a little ways away, so.
So this is a movie about the slaughter of the Knights Templar. Oh wait, a different movie. Shit, I prepared for the wrong movie.
Whoops.
You know, it's funny, you get a lot of people and you start talking about the Friday the 13th franchise, and a lot of people forget that Pam Voorhees was the original killer. Everybody's like, well, you gotta love Jason, he's the best slash killer. Actually, I'm a Pam person, to be honest. I love Jason, as you can look around this room and
Yes,
tell.
sure.
You know, Jason has definitely had an influence on me, but Pam, a mother's love.
Yeah, and it's one of those. What do they call it when a whole group of people just start believing a thing?
Tupla?
What? Say what?
Tupla?
What the hell is that?
Sorry. Never mind.
like
Look it up.
like an urban legend everybody believes.
Oh yeah, like a myth.
Yeah, and this is almost one of those things where everybody's like, "Well, Friday the 13th, Jason's a killer."
Yeah.
No,
No, well, and for me too, it's a very interesting franchise. If you look, Jason, most slasher franchises, when you get to like, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy is the killer.
Yeah.
In the Friday the 13th universe, there's several killers.
Yep.
I mean, they even sneak in an homage to Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Where it's the ambulance driver. So I always thought that was very interesting. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love the franchise so much.
And he's probably the only of the big name killers or whatever that has progressed. He's changed over the movies.
Yeah, I mean, he was a slug at one point in time.
Yep. Yep.
So
I think my favorite homage is to the James Bond opening. I think that's part 6.
yeah,
One of them. Yeah, I forget, but that's I always get a good chuckle out of that one.
And boy, we really got off the rails and got hokey. I'm sure we'll talk about sequels later, but
Well, it's funny. As iconic as the hockey mask is, that's not even something that comes in until what, part 3?
3. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is what you think of when you think of Jason.
Yeah,
Most people,
it is.
You know,
Two good movies that don't even have it.
Yeah, two
Yeah.
great movies.
Yeah.
I love Baghead Jason.
I do too.
It says a lot about that character.
so last night, telling a Hulk story, because we're so shorthanded, our normal Michael Myers was out running, also has bad feet, so he was out running last ride for us. So I went and borrowed his Michael mask and his knife, and I went in the front of the house and played Michael. Well, on the back side of the house, we have a new hutch that they built, and I played Jason back there. But somebody lost a machete, so I had an axe, which he used in something.
Yeah. See,
2?
everybody
Maybe
just
several,
says,
I think.
"Oh, Jason's signature weapon is a machete." He's killed more people with different weapons other than just the machete. There's actually stats out there that shows how many people he has killed and with what different weapons.
But I
the spirit
was standing.
Yeah.
The hutch is it looks like they built it for the Boy Scouts, and it's like this little wooden cabin, like it's just barely big enough to put me in. And we put a fading light in it, and a curtain, and one of the rednecks will run in, and then I walk out to kind of give that misdirection. But I'm Jeff May, I normally borrow the Jason mask from. He didn't bring his. So we had this crappy plastic one. So I put it on, and I'm standing back there with an axe and a crappy plastic mask, and I went, "Rebecca, do we have a pillowcase or a burlap sack?" I said, "Because that's what he wore in 2." And Jeff goes, "Yes, Sammie, that's what he wore in 2. With one hole cut out of it." And I said, "Copy the one-eye, Jeff. Copy the one-eye."
Kids, that's how you get it in a slasher film.
Okay, so
Especially
we did
this
Halloween
franchise.
last week.
Okay, which this movie is directly a ripoff of.
Yeah.
But we discussed it in that Halloween was not meant to be a morality tale on having sex.
No.
Friday the 13th says, yes, if you're going to have sex, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. They definitely do seem to embrace those rules in this franchise.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk on what is the original slasher film. There's a lot of preludes to what I feel is the original slasher, which is Halloween. It has all the elements.
Yeah.
Iconic music, pacing, an iconic character, an iconic killing weapon. And Friday the 13th come directly from that.
Yeah.
They sat down and the production company was like, okay, we have to rip off Halloween.
Yeah.
It did so great. I don't care what you do. So that's how they sat down and was like, okay, how do we rip this off?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This wasn't originally produced by Paramount, right? They bought it afterwards.
I believe that Paramount picked it up afterwards, yeah.
and which is something they've done a lot here, especially in the last several decades. Something like Paranormal Activity comes to mind. Movie that was made just by a guy,
Right.
and they turn around and buy it and then make a huge success out of it.
Yeah, and something I love about this original one, because it really was never done quite like this before, you really think that Pam is a man. The whole time you are misled. Just even the way that they shoot her feet, the kind of boots she's wearing. When you do see a quick glimpse of the killer, she's wearing flannel. Her hands are very manly. You know.
Well, especially when you think of 1980, no one's even thinking woman. That's not even coming into your thought process.
Well, and especially with how brutal the deaths are. I mean, you have to love Tom Savini. You know, one of my personal.
Who I don't think when you think Tom Savini, you don't ever hardly think Friday the 13th.
No,
it's you think Dawn
unless
of
you
the
go to one of
Dead
his tables, and then you'll see a big Friday the 13th poster.
But I don't even think he pushes it as much as he does the zombie stuff or the Tarantino stuff.
And it's probably just because he just did the first one, right? I don't think he did the other the sequels.
No, I think that he did do something later on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that he had his hands in some of the later on stuff. But, you know, you just have to love the death scenes. You know, people forget that this is Kevin Bacon's really first film.
We talked about that last
pretty
week.
amazing death scene too.
Yeah, and he gets it pretty bad.
Yeah, it's awesome.
With the Halloween sequels, Paul Rudd shows up in it, and that got us on to famous people who started in horror movies.
I mean, well, Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
You know, he was in the original Nightmare.
Jennifer Aniston and
the poor dog knows that she has no business going where she's going. Yeah, the dog's don't go there.
Don't go.
Just don't do it.
I have never walked up to a dog and go, "Do you speak English?" ¿Cómo está usted?
Habla español.
Yeah, but kind of like what we were talking about right before we started the movie, I love all of the build-up characters in this film. They're all individual characters, and I love that. You know, the crazy people here inside the diner that she's getting ready to meet, and considering anybody that's seen this film, crazy old Ralph. He's the smartest
and
one there.
I'll give a shout out to Crazy Old Ralph. That's one of the first roles Sammie ever played was for me as part of the hobo.
Which was kind of based on.
Which is kind of based on Crazy Old
that
Ralph.
and the creepy guy in Cabin Fever.
Stereo.
Because Ralph was kind of the first stereotype old guy going, "Don't go up there, you kid."
It's got the death cuss.
And there's a line in Hank vs. Undead where I say something about being doomed. And my daughter, that's anytime we mention Hank, she'll go, "You're all doomed."
Nice.
And I don't even know that she's ever seen this.
It's just the most cliched writing I could possibly come up with.
And Enos, he's just creepy, man.
He's grabbing her boob.
Well,
Enos is like, "All of them as pretty as you."
Well, I mean, watch when she gets in the truck, he totally gets a handful of butt. Like, watch.
Well, I mean, she's got to pay for that ride somehow.
Yeah, but
I missed that.
no, Enos creeps me out. There's a reason why. I mean, listen, she's already in the truck. I think that he stops and let her out because he's having really impure thoughts about raping this girl. Like, watch it the way he just stares at her.
Yeah.
He's
really
so creepy
creepy
riding
guy.
that bike. Just riding a bike is creepy, just straight up and just.
I think one of the biggest mistakes this franchise ever made was in killing Ralph. And I think
but he had it coming, man.
Oh, of course he had it coming, but he's so you want to see him in more of them.
Yeah,
what
but
was that, 2 or 3?
You know he was doing dirty things in the pantry at Camp Crystal Lake. I would not get into the flower bin there.
See, I would like to explore that a little.
Oh, that's kind of weird. What the hell are you playing?
It's Mission Impossible.
Well, you know that Betsy Palmer, who plays Pam Voorhees, they wanted her to come back as an apparition in the other films, and she's like, "I'm an actress. I'm not coming back for one stupid line saying you promised me you would kill them all."
Yeah.
Oh, so Alec Guinness can do it, but she can't?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
it's a classy actor.
Funny thing about Betsy Palmer, she did not want to have anything to do with this film.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason why she did it is because after she read the script, they were like, "We'll pay you $1,000 a day." And she's like, "Nobody's going to watch this piece of shit film." "Sure, I'll do it. What's $1,000 a day?"
And it became her legacy.
Right,
day, yeah.
right. And she really found connection to the character of Pam Voorhees because her first day on set, she was looking at some photos with Tom Savini, and he showed her a picture of the makeup they did on Ernie Liam, who is the original Jason. Yeah. And she's like, "Who's this? What's wrong with this boy?" And he was like, "Well, he's a mongoloid." And the character clicked for her because she realized that the burden it was for Pam to take care of a child that was disabled, which burned that fire even deeper for her, that he should have been watched and they weren't watching him. Yeah. And that's when she really got into the character.
Huh. Well,
Enos don't trust him.
And there's some not good acting in this movie.
I mean, it was the late 70s, early 80s.
And you're getting a bunch of nobody
for the movie. You know? It does its job.
But it's, there's some terrible stuff in some of this. Well, I don't know. It's terrible. It's hokey.
And you gotta love...
Drop them off at a cemetery.
Well, and you have to love that this is the same cemetery that they use later on where Tommy Jarvis brings Jason back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or at least it's hinted to.
Mm-hmm.
This is another one of those throwbacks of stuff you'll never see again, or you very seldom see again. Well, hitchhiking, getting a ride into a strange town and meeting a bunch of people you don't know.
You tell me what kids are going to walk. You tell me what kids are going to walk 20 miles to work.
Yeah.
If she wouldn't have caught a ride with old Edith, she would have walked the full 20.
I mean, you'd have to set a movie back in the 70s or 80s in order to do something like that. And that's not going to fly. But I tell you, a horror movie works so much better set in that time period. You don't have cell phones. You know?
Yeah.
Cell phones make a big difference. And
I just call an Uber.
Yeah.
I just saw the new Halloween, and they found a creative way to deal with the cell phone. Which I was like, well, good. Now she doesn't have a cell phone. That's a good way to... Because if she does, this moves the plot along a lot faster. Yeah. We need that pickup truck.
Eastbound down, loaded up and trucking. That's what I kept thinking when it was playing last night. And I mean, there's hardly any camps like this, maybe up north.
Yeah, up where I'm from, there's a few Boy Scout camps that are kind of like this. But
there's they've got one.
Good old Steve. Very fashionable.
Boy Scout camp.
Oh, for that time.
I mean, you gotta love that it's the middle of summer and he's wearing wool socks up to his knees.
And virtually nothing else.
Got to make sure that those legs stay warm.
That's right. When you're wearing cutoffs, I mean, something's got to keep your legs warm.
And I love that he's a hard ass. Like, he doesn't even say, "Hey, guys." No, get to work.
Get the hell over here. Let's go to work.
Straight on with the manual labor at Crystal Lake.
Someone give me a hand. I've already chopped 2 logs.
And the top of that thing's been cut for so darn long.
Hi. Steve Cavendy's already.
Listen, where's Bill? Has he finished cleaning out the boathouse yet?
I don't know. I haven't seen him in the past half hour.
I want him to start cleaning right away.
People start disappearing already.
I've got a podcast to recommend to our listeners. It's called In Voorhees We Trust with Gorley and Rust. I don't know if anyone's heard it. It's on Stitcher Premium, so unless you've got Stitcher Premium, you probably haven't heard it. But the first couple episodes you could find without having to pay for the premium access. But it's a pretty cool show. They take each. It's kind of like this show. They take each movie per episode and talk about it in depth and for some.
I like that it's still wobbly and about ready to fall off, and she's like, "Nope, it's good.
It's good. It's good enough."
Surely the wind
or the fact that he can reach it from the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, his head's that high. He can just.
Well, hell, she could reach it too if she wanted. She's just. We need the ladder for the movie.
And
you have to admire Steve's mustache. I mean, damn.
Yes.
And if it was Matt and I, we'd just both be standing over hammered on the top of the roof. Because he's probably 5'6".
Yeah, a little more.
But that hairy chest and that porn star mustache.
Yeah, but the bandana just sets it all off.
Awesome, yeah.
He looks like he should be wrestling. Looks like he should be a professional wrestler.
And in the 80s and early 90s, it totally would have worked. Here comes the camp counselor.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
God, he's got along.
And how many? We talk about women imposing, and people putting them in like weird poses while they're standing. Oh my God, he is doing it.
It's almost to the point where it's awkward.
Yes,
You know?
yes. His arm.
And he's
up
creepy as hell, though. Like, this whole exchange between him and her, they're making a case that he could possibly be the killer.
Yeah.
Yep. Planting that seed.
Well, that's one thing that is kind of unique about this first film is you do have it is kind of a mystery as to who is your killer, which you don't have in the later films.
Yeah, because Pam never comes up till the very end, you know?
And here
And
we've
you have-
already established Enos,
Crazy Ralph.
Crazy Ralph.
But Ralph's not put together well enough. Like, there was never a thought in my head where I'm like, oh, that guy's put together well enough to go chop up some teenagers. But Steve, they even make it a point for him to drive a Jeep.
Yep. Yep.
Well, and this is another thing that they kind of take also for Sleepaway Camp, which
Yeah.
that's also another murder, I guess, kind of mystery.
One of the
We don't
best
know.
reveals in movie history.
Yes.
We did it with Jason.
Okay.
Jason
Yeah.
Patterson was
Okay.
a guest, and we actually interviewed Felissa for it.
Oh, cool. Did you guys talk about how that ending came about, how they got somebody to do that? Because
Yeah, we
there's a
did,
whole
we did.
story
Yeah,
about that,
yeah.
which is
That's a
nuts in
great
itself.
story.
Which would never happen today because
Yeah.
that is a lawsuit.
Oh yes.
Very much so.
Oh, the ending the ending out of that episode has been a friendship between Felissa and I and Al Pacino.
Cool.
We have an inside joke
That's
where one of us just walks by the other and goes, "Ooh-ah." I'm in complete. We're at Mad Monster Party. I am in Twisty. I have the
that's
whole Twisty costume, and I just walk over and just stare at her. I do the kind of distant stare that we do at shows sometimes. And she's like, "You're starting to creep me out." And I walk over and I just lean down and I go, "Hoo-ah!" And she goes, "Damn it, Sammie! You are creeping me out."
I actually think this will be the first year I get to make Mad Monster.
Oh, nice.
Every year, normally, it lines up around the same time that I'm in St. Louis at the Trans World Convention.
Okay.
And I really want to make it to a Mad Monster. It'd be cool to be in a room
This
with
one's
a
going
bunch
to
of
be
my
good with
people.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I am a fan of Bruce
That's
Campbell.
a terrible. This is our first freaking. And that was a real arrow, too.
Yeah, little unknown fact. Tom Savini shot that arrow.
Very cool.
But here is the first freaking day of they're just setting up for the summer, and that poor old, it looks like it'd have a nice cover on it, you know.
Oh,
it'd
it
be
just
new.
beat the hell
yeah,
already,
it's
yeah.
beat the hell already.
And oh boy, you just can't wait for him to get it. He's so annoying
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
time. You're just like, please.
Do you mind fast forwarding it at some point so we can?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, do you
get,
want to do this whole scene because
Sure,
this is
let's do this first.
This really is the first kill, with the
Yeah.
exception of the two teenagers, that you can really link to Pam.
Well, yeah, but that was in '58. The
Yeah.
first two, yeah. So,
But this is really what, because
modern.
she claims that she's the first kill, and you're like, no, you're really not the first kill in the franchise.
I really enjoy a killer POV. I
Yeah.
really that to me
Do
it's
you really?
very interesting to watch. Yes,
we've never done anything like that.
we've had hero POV two
Yeah.
movies in a row, but we need to do a killer POV. At some point.
And Annie's really the only one that's not breaking any of the slasher rules,
Just trying to
except
get more.
she's just annoying.
Yeah,
I think Pam was like, Jesus, if
pretty
you
sure
just
she
shut
was,
up.
Pretty sure she was flirting with Ennis.
She's
Yeah.
and she's just chippy, just cheery,
Just
and
too annoying,
ugh.
like too happy on life. That'll get you killed.
Oh shit!
And the poor stunt
Damn, I'm happy
person,
on life.
The poor stunt person that takes the spill out of the car. I want you to pay attention to this scene. They literally land on their head.
Oh jeez. Well, again, this was back in the day when just stuff. It's terrible. Please? Can we? Please? Where did they film this at?
New Jersey.
That's right. I did read that.
Watch.
Oh, damn.
Jeez.
She did a really good job of keeping her hair in front of her face so you couldn't tell who it was.
Yeah, it was probably old Tom Savini.
He kind of did it a little bit
Put
everything.
some makeup over that goatee, you'd be fine.
And here we got Tripping Girl, Falling Down Girl. And, okay, is this... While this kind of set up slasher films for years and years and years and years, has it also taken it down the wrong road with the stereotypes and the tropes and the... Or is that our fault
I think
for doing it?
I think that it's because it just happened so many times.
Yeah.
You know, you have to remember this is a knockoff of Halloween, and then 95 of the B-level, C-level slashers from the 80s and early 90s were all stemmed off of these
Yeah,
films.
yeah.
So they were like, oh, well, they had them tripping up in the woods, so
Yeah.
we'll do that too.
Yeah.
There was a shit ton of knockoffs of Halloween, but they weren't all as successful as this one, and,
I mean-
created a franchise
Oh,
like
God,
this.
no.
So many slashers. Slashers is my favorite genre of horror. So many of them.
You figure that was Tom with the knife, too?
I'm not sure who it was with the knife, but it wouldn't surprise me. So more tomfoolery from the teenagers. They're making
More
the case.
cutoffs.
Yeah, they're
And
making
Kevin
the case,
Bacon in a very little Speedo.
They're making the case for all of them to die.
There's a shot where they're sitting on the beach, and it's I can't remember who's there, but it just kind of pans over, and all you see is Kevin Bacon's crotch, and
you like a slice of bacon?
he's showing his stuff basically, and it just kind of cuts away real quick, like, oh God, we didn't mean to show you all that.
Yeah, I believe I know the shot
Yeah.
you're talking about.
It's like poking.
You know, even on
I was like, has Kevin got a chubby?
Pam's hand right there, or the case can be made that that's crazy old Ralph. They have a big old man ring on the hand, you know? So I just love the misleading quality that they have.
Now,
So-
they took... Most of these girls are attractive, but not gorgeous. So then I think that's probably part of our problem later on is everybody says, well, these girls are pretty, but not gorgeous. Let's get them gorgeous. Well, then the next one is like, well, they had gorgeous girls, so let's do gorgeous girls with big boobs. And then next thing, you know, everybody thought they had to top the one before.
There's
There
your
we
crop
go.
shot.
There we go.
An eye full of bacon.
The camera pans up and you can see the head
Kevin.
of his penis through his... Jesus.
That's not bacon, that's a pork loin.
That's not big, that's sausage.
Oh, okay. Maybe now we need to fast forward a little bit. I knew it was a shot. Oh, maybe we can't fast forward.
Should be able to fast forward.
We've brought up Tom Savini a couple times and Halloween, not to keep coming back to it, but we talked about in the last episode, there's a new podcast called Halloween Unmasked, and they spend a good, I don't know, probably 15, 20 minutes talking about the Friday the 13th series as well as Tom Savini and his inspiration for a lot of the horror, he says, comes from his time in Vietnam, being a photographer in Nam. And that really influenced the style of the gore you see in the Friday the 13th film, as opposed to something like Halloween, where you barely ever see blood at all.
Sure. And I will say, not to touch on other franchises, but that is the big difference in this
Very
new
much so,
one,
yeah.
is they give you some gore, which, I'm a gore guy, I love it, you know, so.
Well, what's so funny about Halloween is you come away from it thinking you've seen a lot of gore, but you really haven't
Right.
at all, you know? You
Well, I mean, that goes back to even like the original Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
We get in our own heads
Exactly,
with it.
exactly,
you know,
right.
we overthink it,
Yeah.
and you think about how terrible it is, and now you watch and like, oh, that's just some ketchup on a
had
note.
this
what you can
conversation with
imagine could be a lot worse
I
than
had
what
this
you'll
conversation with somebody the other night at the show.
You gotta love King Shit Cop too.
On his motorcycle, which I don't know why. Is this around Chips? Was Chips out at this time? Because I can't figure why somebody in the Northeast would have a motorcycle cop.
They probably just got a hold of a motorcycle. Right? We got to find a way to put this in the
How do we make this guy look tough and authoritative?
Yeah. But somebody was talking about how at the show was talking about how bad Texas Chainsaw was, and I was like, there's no blood in that whatsoever. I said, now if you take Texas Chainsaw and add gore to it, that's called Pieces.
Pieces cursed.
Ralph.
I should have done my neck like that. I could kind of do that.
It makes you wonder how often Ralph was hanging out in the pantry at Camp Christmas.
He kind of knew his way there, didn't he?
I got to warn you. You're doomed to stay.
You're doomed.
Go.
There's probably like 3 cans of beans opened up in there with the spoon sticking out.
I don't know. I think it's his naughty room.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Look at his walk. I agree with you on the bean things. He looks like he needs to take a poop.
I wonder what the direction is. Just, no, crazier. Do it crazier.
Here's some cocaine, because all these movies were fueled by cocaine in the
She's like,
80s.
maybe he's right. And I want to hear the Wizard of Oz.
Dun, 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 dun.
As he rides around on his bicycle with a basket on the front. Doomed! I tell you, my pretties, you're doomed.
I'd love to see him wreck his bike. Just go over the handlebars.
What if he did a couple times? That's some big rocks out there. That was not the easiest bicycle
Why do we
ride.
linger on him riding away? That's so weird.
Because we all love Ralph.
Because we just want to see more of him.
Yeah.
That's why I maintain they shouldn't have killed him so early in the series. It's a shame.
So, more setting up for the teenagers to get murdered.
And they're trying to get you to care about them.
Yeah, but for me, I care less about them.
Yeah.
The more I see of them, the more annoying they are to me, and the more I'm like, oh boy, I can't wait to see.
And everybody
you get
annoying
terribly.
in their own way.
Yeah.
You got this guy who is just.
That seems to be like as part of the unspoken rule is that not only are they having sex and doing drugs and blah blah blah, but they're also like they're characters you don't really like all that much. They're kind of jerks or annoying or.
There's always one or two that you're like, oh man, they're gonna get it, and what a shame, but you're still excited to see how they get it.
Yeah.
All these button-up shirts and 70s style.
Funny fact, the guy in the plaid shirt that's not Kevin Bacon, I cannot remember his name, but he is related to Bing Crosby.
That's Harry. That's his son.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's his son.
I remember hearing about that.
But he took this role because he was trying to make a name for himself instead of, on his dad's name.
Yeah.
So, more lead up to teenagers having sex.
Kevin Bacon, a hoe dog. And they said this is like...
You guys just tell me when to
This
stop.
is the first of like 9 times he's played a character named Jack.
Really?
Yeah, he's played Jacks all the time.
He's about to get it.
Well, and deservedly so. Just for being annoying. I don't know why you would be out in a camp and walk into a creepy.
Especially when you're hearing noises, and you just seen crazy ass Ralph come out of a closet.
Yep.
So I would be on nerve anyways. I'd be like, oh, what's next?
So what makes these films work so well, especially this first one? To me, there's something satisfying about it. There's a formula. You're going to get what you paid for.
Well,
there's these characters. They build them up to kill them off.
But Pam is completely justified in what she's doing. Think about it. I mean, really, think about it. Like, her mentally handicapped child, and she's not wound very tight anyways, her mentally handicapped child drowns. I can see how that would push you to be crazy.
On their watch.
When people were supposed to be watching them, and later on in the franchise, like, They show the camp counselors laughing at Jason as he's drowning. I don't necessarily believe that was the original intent. I think they were just fucking off and not
careless.
paying.
Yeah.
Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, you're fine.
They were just literally messing around, and the kid drowned because he wasn't being tended to. I could see how, in a parent's grief, she would feel justified in that.
Yep.
You know, and this isn't the first time that she has tried to stop the camp from opening. She just doesn't want the camp to be open.
Yeah.
You know,
Because she's trying to save other people's kids because she thinks everybody is now.
you know, I mean, Pam didn't just start off as a killer. I mean, yeah, she killed those kids in '58, but she also dabbles in arsenic and poisoning the water. And tried all these different things to keep the camp from opening. So,
I love those headlight lightning. They're just flickering on some lights.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
I'm sure that this was a very miserable movie to shoot because a lot of it takes place in the rain.
Yeah.
And you know that it probably was not very warm.
Oh, no, there's no way. It looks cold. And it seemed like somewhere I read that they filmed this in the winter.
Yeah, I believe that they did shoot it in cooler months. Because that's an actual. This is an actual camp, and they just did for an anniversary. They had people stay the night at Camp Crystal Lake.
Oh my lord!
On a Friday the 13th.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome. Kind of like the Jaws screening in the pond where everybody's in inner tubes or whatever. But there is an actual Camp Crystal Lake too.
Yeah, it's in Hope, New Jersey.
Oh, I thought there was this was named something else. Camp. Hang on.
Camp Death.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. This camp that they're shooting at is in Hope, New Jersey. I didn't realize that there was.
There's an actual Camp Crystal Lake. I think it's in Maryland. This was Camp Nobiboosku. Nobiboosku in New Jersey.
Common spelling.
NO-BE-BO-SCO. But there is a Camp Crystal Lake somewhere, and give me a minute and I'll find it. I want to say it's in Maryland. And this was a Boy Scout camp.
Oh yeah,
The one they used. Yeah.
This always makes me
there's
think
one
about
in
the Boy Scout camp I grew up going to.
right.
There's one in what town is Bartlett Yancey in? Yanceyville.
Grew up going to Camp Barnhart, and I totally expected there to be a killer every time I went.
It's funny how it can get into your psyche like that.
Yeah.
You know, there's the good ones. They get in your psyche. You know,
The-
like, even Jaws. Like you've been in
Yeah.
a swimming pool before, and you're like, shit, he's in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's something I don't know. I think we're losing a lot of too with the new generation is imagination. So how many kids now are in a pool and go, "Ooh, Jaws is here!" And one of the kids is running around going, "Dun dun 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 dun." It's
My kids do that.
do they?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
It's good that that's
I
staying
keep
alive.
hope alive.
Yeah.
One of my favorite trivia things I found out about this was there is a Voorhees, New Jersey,
Oh wow.
that is 8 miles from Haddonfield, New Jersey.
No way.
Yes.
That's awesome. I'm sure there's an Elm Street in both those towns.
Oh, I wonder.
Yeah, and getting back to what you're saying about imagination, these were all like magic tricks. All these deaths and things. Now we have so many new tools at our disposal
Yeah.
that it's not so much of a trick anymore. If you have enough money, you can have whatever you want in your film.
Yeah, that's true. And you can do things on the cheap nowadays too that look pretty decent.
Stark, Florida. There's a Camp Crystal Lake in Stark, Florida.
Huh.
I could do without Kevin Bacon's butt crack.
A whole lot of hot and heavy going on.
Nice. She's a big fan of slitting throats so far.
Well, I mean, it's probably one of the fastest way to really dispose of somebody, you know.
Well, it's a good special effect too. I mean,
Yeah.
you see it, you know exactly what it is, and
We already rolled for you. You're going last, okay? And community chest cannot give you your clothes back. Double sixes. I get to roll again.
yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those movie deaths where you can see someone just get a quick slice across the neck, and they're going to die, and you know what's going on. Real life, it's not quite that easy, but I guess you don't really ever see horror movie villains really trying to get in there good, and
Right.
you know, technically when you get your throat slit, you drown on your own blood. It's pretty horrendous.
Yeah,
if you don't bleed out first.
The whole thing of pulling the neck back, you're actually, if you want to get a better slice, you should push the head forward, because you're putting more of the arteries and things into the blade.
Never thought about that.
As somebody who dabbles in this special effects world, it's something that I think about often, you know.
It's
how do I make it look as realistic as possible?
well, and we've had conversation with artists about a lot of big time comic book artists and stuff say you need to study biology. So you would kind of be the same way. How it actually would.
Yeah. Try to study the human body as much as possible and look at real photos of those things.
Yeah.
If you can get a hold of real photos, I know that sounds really morbid and sick, but that's what I try to look at. I try to look at actual accidents, because that tells you everything you really need to know. You know, like you were talking about Savini taking what he's seen in Nam and trying to apply it. It was actually a way for him to heal from what he went through.
Yeah.
But that's why nobody was doing things like that before Savini. I say he is the grandfather of the modern effect in that sense. Like, what's getting ready to happen right here to good old Kevin.
Yeah.
One of the iconic kills. And I don't know if it's because he's became so famous or just it's a really good visual or what.
And I love that he realizes something's wrong, and now it's too late.
Yep. Could have got that skin color a little closer.
Only thing that could have made it cooler, I think, is if a puff of smoke came out.
They did that in Saturday the 14th.
Which I love that movie.
Let's talk a little bit about the franchise. I've got a list here. I couldn't remember all of them in the order of the names. Obviously, this one came out in 1980, and Part 2 came out the next year. As we talked a little bit about it, that's the one where Jason Voorhees is finally your killer, and he's wearing the
Bag.
like a burlap bag or something with a hole.
He kills with all sorts of different.
Oh
things
yeah, all
there.
kinds of stuff. Whatever he can
remember
get his little
Pitchfork,
grubby
right?
fingers
Pitchfork,
on.
yep.
Yeah.
Pitchfork was the big one. I don't know if he were trying to make the pitchfork his weapon of choice and it just didn't work, or
I don't know. I think that if you look at Jason, he really is a killer of opportunity with the tools he uses.
Yeah.
Because even when you get later on in the franchise, I mean, geez, he kills somebody with the weed whacker from hell. You know? You know, he takes the equipment from the guys that are playing paintball, and he uses those things.
Well, and the next one is Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D, which is one of my favorites because I always have to watch it with the 3D glasses that comes with the DVD, which is pretty cool.
Which you have to love.
Yeah.
Shout out to NECA, what they're doing with that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love watching it in 3D. It's so much fun. It's not the greatest of the franchise, but it's just fun to watch with the 3D.
But it's an iconic one, too. Part
Yeah.
3 is where he gets his distinct
gets
look
his-
with
yeah.
the hockey mask.
Yeah. He's a bit leaner, too. I think you've got a statue of... I think that's from Part 3 of with him holding the axe. He's
Yep.
a bit... Yeah.
This is
Doesn't look
before
quite
Kane Hodder.
as
You know?
grungy and nasty.
Yeah, because everybody really, when you think of iconic Jasons, a lot of the times it's the Kane Hodder Jasons.
Yeah.
Because there's a real veracity to him. Like, the way that Kane plays Jason, he's scary.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
even when he's stalking,
Yeah.
he is scary. He's
Yeah.
no longer a dude, he is something else.
Yeah.
Do you think Jacob will mind if I kind of paraphrase his Kane Hodder story? I doubt he will. But, okay, just real quick. I think it was at Martinsville. I'm not sure that Kane Hodder was there. And one of the other Jasons was there, too. And I think somebody...
CJ Graham.
CJ Graham was... But somebody had gotten some sort of pamphlet from his table or something and put it on Kane Hodder's table to fuck with Kane Hodder. And for some reason, he thought it was Jacob, who happened to be walking by the table at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so he gets up, grabs Jacob, and goes, "I will fucking rape you." And Jacob, if you've ever met him, he's just like 100 pounds soaking wet. He's just, I can just imagine the look of terror in his face. I'm sure someone had to like speak up and be like, "He's not the guy." Just leave him alone.
Someone had to save his life. No, in like Kane Hodder's Jason, there's all kinds of stories out there about when he is on set as Jason, he goes off by himself and stalks the cast and crew while they're setting up shots. He stays in character. He gets his lunch put out by a tree and eats it alone. Like, just freaks people out,
great.
man. Like, he stays in the character.
I'm gonna have you do that in the next movie we make.
Yeah.
You know,
Boogeyman.
as somebody who,
Boogeyman would be perfect for that.
That'd be awesome.
as somebody who acts, I try to live in that same role too because it makes sense.
Yeah.
If there's real palpable fear on the set because you think the guy that's the killer is really crazy in real life,
Yeah.
there's intensity.
What
So,
a perfect way to get everybody naked. Strip Monopoly.
yeah, I don't know, man. It would take way too long. Have you ever played a game of Monopoly? 7 hours later, and you finally get someone's sock off.
How many beers have they got?
And that dude, he's got 2 girls. Yeah.
How does strip Monopoly work?
If you, according to them, if you land on a property that has a house on it, you have to
Okay.
pay rent. You lose a piece of clothes. But you know how long it takes to put houses on
That's true.
properties in Monopoly?
You start playing 3 hours later, someone takes
And then she
off
don't
the-
even bother putting her clothes back on. Just throw a jacket on and go.
Well, she doesn't want to cheat.
See you guys more.
Okay,
She ain't
back-
coming back.
All right, back to
She just left naked.
the list.
Partially naked.
The
Fast
fourth
forward.
one is called The Final Chapter, and that was in 1984, which was far from the final chapter, but I think that was the intention at the time from Paramount.
Wait, go back. Okay, I missed. We did part 2,
3D,
part 3. Okay.
and then part 4 is the final chapter in 84.
Something you'll appreciate. I collect movie posters.
Okay.
I have an original Friday the 13th part 3. I don't
Wow.
have original 1, but I have a part 3
Wow.
with the knife or the machete.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Back to part 3 real quick. I love how they they keep giving you little things like someone pointing to the camera.
Oh, it was made for 3D.
But it's so
Yeah.
fun just to see what they threw in there just to do it. All right, part 5 is A New Beginning in 1985. And if you guys have anything to interject here, I'm just going to go through the list.
I got one when we get Jason Goes to Hell.
Well, I mean, 5, right? Was it 4 or was it 5 where they do the Scooby-Doo gag where the dude at the home for the orphans, Tommy Jarvis, so it has to be 5. Tommy Jarvis goes to the halfway house for the kids, and the annoying dude gets murdered by one of the psycho kids that's there, and they make it where the dad shows up, and you have no idea that the ambulance driver is that kid's dad, sees his kid mutilated, and becomes Jason Voorhees as a guise to kill everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And then at the very end, they take off the mask, and they're like, "Old Man Withers."
Yeah,
You know.
that must be 5, A New Beginning, because part 6 is Jason Lives,
Right.
Yeah.
which I guess they kind of learned Halloween went through a very similar thing where part 3 they tried to redirect and do something different, and then the audience
Which
didn't
Season
care
of the
for it,
Witch
and-
is my favorite.
Is it?
I mean, I
It's
have a
great.
shrine in my living room. If you look over
I
my
noticed that
shoulder,
too.
I was admiring it earlier.
you know,
It's great.
I like Michael.
Yeah.
but Halloween 3 has everything I want. It has crazy automatons that kill people. It's got the weird eccentric billionaire that wants to murder all the children in the world. It's got cool masks. It's got debauchery. What else do you want
Creepy
from a horror
little
flick?
music.
Yeah.
Little jingle.
Dun, 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 dun. It's almost time, kids.
Okay. Part 7, The New Blood, 1988. I think 6 is probably the one that I remember the most as being just kind of out there and kind of crazy, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's
where
kind of a dumb one. But.
Where Tommy Jarvis is meddling around too much, and he's trying to make sure that Jason's dead, but actually electrocutes him back to life.
Yes, he puts a metal rod through him, and then a lightning strike.
Yeah, talk about bad luck. But he brings it on himself. Out of all the people in the Friday the 13th universe, I just don't like Tommy Jarvis. He has it coming. He brings it on to himself.
Yeah. Next we have Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh, boy. That's a hard one for me. It's your first time seeing Kane Hodder as Jason, which is great.
Yeah.
But boy, howdy. How do we go from Camp Crystal Lake to the mean streets of New York? And then you get to the ending of that film where some toxic sludge in the sewer system turns him back into a child.
Yeah, well, that one's pretty tough.
That one nearly killed the franchise, I think.
But it does play on. It does a good job of playing on Jason being in a city. You know, running into the street thugs that are going to whip his
mask and oh no, it's cool.
It's more funny than it is anything.
Yeah, well, and I think that they were trying to take some notes from the Nightmare franchise, where they made him a little bit more personable, and he had a little bit more attitude to him. So,
well, you know, sometimes I think when you've gotten so far into a franchise, it's good to kind of shake things up a little bit and do something different. And I'm not saying that was the way to do it, but at least they're thinking something different.
You got to remember, you have to remember this was the '80s, and a lot of our film favorites were powered by cocaine. So,
well, that's 8 films in 10 years, and then there's a little break in there. In 1993, they come back with Jason Goes to Hell.
Okay, I got a story about this.
Go ahead.
I was single and living in Greensboro. Probably at my mom's, I think, early 20s or something like that. And I go to see Jason Goes to Hell by myself in a theater about half full, and I was the only white person in the whole theater. It was over in Greensboro. I don't remember which theater it was at. But the ending happens. The infamous ending with the mask and Freddy's glove comes up. Well, when that happens, the entire row in front of me stood up and went, "Oh, hell no!" and left. I said, because I guess they thought it was going on or something. I don't know, but they talked through. It was one of my worst movie-going experiences. They talked all the way through the movie. It was annoying.
You gotta love that they make Jason a slug. I mean, wow. There's only a couple things from that movie that I can hang my hat on, and one is I'm from northeastern Ohio, and the fact that Jason's corp rolls through Youngstown, Ohio in that movie, and they name drop it, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's right around where I'm from. And then the little Jason burgers at the diner. Dude, I always wanted to get me a Jason burger.
A Jason burger.
By the way, I can just
see in this movie. This is where I start arming myself. When I find a bloody axe in my bed, getting back to part one.
Hang on to it.
Yeah,
I mean, who sleeps with a bloody axe unless you're a guy like me or Sammie?
True. I would, but my wife won't let me.
Same here.
By the way, I can just see you living with your mom in your early 20s, bringing over a girl, and she's like, "That slut's not allowed in the house." "But mother, I really like her."
You've met my mom. You know better than
I
that.
know.
My mom be like, "What are you doing?"
Next, there was a 9-year gap in which Jason X comes
boy.
out, which
Ended
is the
up in
10th.
space.
Which is the 10th in the series, and I don't know what the hell to say about Jason X. It's I don't know.
That's so weird.
Well,
Okay, now
weird.
this is
See, I've
Jason
had-
and an automaton kind of thing. So this is kind of your wheelhouse
you know,
with that weird mask and
yeah, but boy, if you're gonna jump the shark, just put it in space.
Just do it right.
well, everybody
I
has
mean, boy,
Leprechaun.
howdy.
Everybody
Do
but
it right.
Michael.
Right? Yeah, but
No, I guess Freddie has.
Freddy hasn't been to space. But it does have one of my favorite kills and one of my favorite one-liners from any of the franchises. And that's where the dude's like, "It's okay, he just wanted his machete back." And then he dips the chick's face in the liquid nitrogen and explodes her head.
Yeah.
But, if you look at that franchise, it was really it was the last time that Kane Hodder had played Jason.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they didn't even bother putting a cowl on him. You can clearly see that that's Kane Hodder when they're doing the whole transport thing before he goes into the cryo stage, his stage,
Yeah.
before they take into space. I personally not one of my favorites in the franchise, but I get it, and
Yeah.
it's a neat looking Jason.
And they try
and I
doing
love
something.
that when he gets hit with the stuff in space that soups him up. It soups up the machete too.
Yeah, again, to plug another podcast, I'll recommend How Did This Get Made did an episode on Jason X, in which they talked about the director who claimed he'd never seen any of the Friday the 13th movies before.
And it
Oh,
shows.
jeez.
Yeah, and it shows before taking this on. So, then the next year, they kind of redeemed it a little bit and had Freddy vs. Jason, which I enjoyed thoroughly.
I like that
I
movie.
saw it in theaters and had a
Yeah.
ball.
I thought it was really good. I think that's how you have to play two iconic characters.
Yeah.
Listen, it's just like in comic books where two big superheroes fight each other.
Yep.
You can't have one beat the other one.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just can't be that way. And I thought that they gave both characters ample shots at each other, even the ending.
There's
You
a
know?
good balance there between
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Where Jason's got Freddy's head in his hand and he's carrying it away and Freddy winks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that kind of applies to me. Maybe they're still in a dream world.
Yeah.
You can write your own ending. And I always say you're either a Jason person or you're a Freddy person. Yes, you can like both. But at the end of the day, there's lines drawn and you're going to side to one side or the
Yeah,
other.
well, I don't know that I thought about it until that movie.
Mm-hmm.
When that movie came out, by the end of it, I was like, God, I wish Jason win. I was a Jason guy by the end of it.
Well, I mean, and for me, you look at the makeup of both characters, and I'm not talking about the special effects. You look at Freddy, who is a child molester, and then you look
Jason
at
is a child.
Jason, who is a child, who is a mongoloid.
Yeah.
And which one can you have more sympathy for?
Absolutely.
When people are like, "Oh, I'm totally on Freddy's side," I'm like, okay, that tells me something about you.
It shows
Thank
what
you.
kind of person you are.
Or like over there in the corner, I have the original Freddy Cougar doll still in the package over there that Matchbox made
Wow.
from the 80s. They were giving children Freddy dolls.
I have the
Money to be
talking
made
one.
on
Yeah, that's the
merchandising.
one that's sitting
Yeah.
over there. Yeah, he's the talking Freddy, and they pulled him off the shelves after parents were like, "Wait, he's a child molester that kills kids in their sleep."
Shouldn't know what this is, but
Yeah.
I remember for a couple of years there they were talking about doing a sequel that would have been Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, which
Yeah.
would have been freaking
They did
amazing.
a comic.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they
Which
were
would've been
having a hard
amazing.
time getting all the licensings together,
I
and
can
I still,
imagine that would've been a
I
nightmare.
still hold hope that film will happen one day
That would be amazing.
before Bruce is too old to be.
Well, he says he's done with
He
that.
keeps saying he's retiring Ash, but
Yeah,
I think
I
for
don't
something
know.
like that, he
I
might.
think that if there was enough money involved, and one thing I will say about Bruce Campbell, he likes to entertain his fans.
Yes.
And if there was enough outcry for it,
And then there was the Friday the 13th remake in 2009, and I'm interested to hear your opinion on it, Matt.
Anybody that knows me knows I normally hate every single remake because I don't like when you try to completely reinvent a character.
Yeah.
For example, I like nothing that Michael Bay does.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't think of anything.
I feel like he's raped my childhood. And I won't go too deep into that because we're not really talking about Michael Bay, and we'll be here till midnight. But with that being said, I have a very strong stance on remakes, and I didn't mind it. I thought that they paid homage to the characters, and they tried to keep them as close to the character as they could without crapping on a whole lineage.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think that and the Texas remake were both very good.
Came out around the same time.
Yeah, I actually like the Texas remake a lot better than I do the Friday, but they're both good.
I don't
in their
recall
own way.
the Nightmare on Elm Street remake being very good, though.
That's because it was the first time we ever seen Freddy
That wasn't Robert
without it
Englund.
being Robert Englund.
Yeah.
And you expect certain things when you see Freddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Where Jason and Michael and Leatherface, you don't have to have those things because Freddy has so much more personality than everybody else.
I mean, with the exception of the first one, which I feel is the scariest in the Nightmare franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Freddy was scary
I
in
do
that
too.
franchise. And then after that, they decided to make him witty, which we all love, a smart-ass
Yeah.
break
I
on
flip back and forth between 1 and 3. Which one's my favorite?
bitch.
Yeah.
When you hear somebody do a grumbly bitch noise, you're like, oh, it's
That's
Freddy.
Freddy.
Right. I mean, but with Jason, I feel like when they did the new one, what's his name? Dak, the big dude that plays him.
Dak Prescott? No, that's not right.
No. That's
Derek
football player.
Meters.
Yeah, Derek Meters. I always call him Dak. But Derek Meters, that's a big dude. That is a big
That's a big
Jason.
guy.
And I like what they did with the character. I felt like it was very cool.
Well, it's funny that we're talking about Friday the 13th now because just as of last week, they've started talking again about a reboot produced by, of all people, by LeBron James, which is... okay, why not?
Hey,
I thought this was going to be. What did I hear? It was. It's going to be a departure from what they normally do, and I can't remember what the kind of plot.
I haven't heard
They were-
anything about the
Yeah,
plot.
I
didn't know that's been
normally-
out there.
Well, I mean, just the ideas.
until something's in production, I normally don't pay attention
That's
to it.
true, yeah.
Especially in today's day and age
yeah.
where there's so much fan theory.
Yeah.
And even even if I see a movie poster, there's a lot of talented people out there that mock up fake movie posters for movies that will never happen. So I normally just wait until I get something actually from the studio that's backing it.
You know what I really hate is fake movie trailers. That drives me nuts, especially when I think it's real, and then as I'm halfway through, I'm like, wait a minute. They got me.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts. So one thing I wanted to ask you, Matt, 10 people have portrayed Jason, including the child. Who is your favorite actor to portray? Who do
My
you enjoy seeing
favorite,
the most?
Kane Hodder.
Kane, yeah.
Kane Hodder, but
He's most famously known for the role,
just
I would
how
say.
violent he is.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the deaths, he's violent. And when he steps into those scenes, you can see some actual fear in the character's eyes because they're like, wait, is this the day that Kate actually snaps and really murders somebody? They catch it on film. Like, I mean, he went out and got kill tattooed on the inside of his frickin' lip. Like, he embodies that spirit of Jason.
Kane's intimidating. there's
Yeah,
no
if
doubt.
anybody's ever been invaded by the slug that is Jason, it is Kane Hodder.
I have seen Kane creeped out though
Do tell.
by a 5'0" crazy woman.
We're not going to go. But yeah, I've as many people have been.
Yeah, but I love Kane Hodder's version.
Yeah, That makes sense.
They're really the films that they're not the greatest in the franchise.
They're fun though.
But in the whole franchise, my favorite killer is Pam.
Really?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
my favorite, and
Yeah.
because she's the most justified in what she's doing.
Yeah.
A mother's love.
And it's, I mean, these these were meant to be modern day morality tales.
Sure.
You know, even up into the 80s with this, you know, it's still, hey, y'all need to. I don't know what the thought process behind, and because you've already gone through the free love 60s, you've gone through the 70s, and you're getting into the 80s. I don't know why anybody would think that this needs to be a morality tale.
Well, because I
But-
think it's their way to bring everybody back around.
Yeah.
Y'all got to stop screwing each other and doing drugs, or that guy's going to come get
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
You know?
Well, not to keep going back to that podcast I was talking about, but they do go into that a good bit, and they kind of hypothesize that it's a generation dealing with the aftermath of Vietnam is one of the reasons why this is so successful. Do you mind if we skip ahead to the to the reveal?
Absolutely.
Just for time
Yeah,
sake.
absolutely.
But I do love the ending, especially her performance. You know,
Yeah,
she's
well,
a bit over the top.
Well, and when you really get into the end of this film, and you start looking at what they were doing, the ending, the very ending. Okay, so
There we go.
here we go.
Well, I'm Mrs. Voorhees, an old friend of the Christies.
Who you're just now meeting at the very end of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's somebody that showed up to help.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I do think it's funny when you watch this movie with the knowledge of who the killer is. Everyone she comes up to, they always go like, "Oh, hey, who?" You know, she never introduces herself as, "I'm Mrs. Voorhees. I'm gonna kill you now." It's always just a silent figure.
No, they're all dead. They're all dead.
And I like up to this point too. Pam's been wearing like flannel and stuff, and now she's wearing a mom sweater.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Yeah.
You want me to skip up to the?
Sure.
Okay.
That sounds good.
You know, and the interesting thing is at the very end of this film, when we get to that. Whoop, too far. Yeah, this is pretty close.
That's cool. This is such a iconic ending, especially the little twist ending after.
Yeah, well,
Shit.
and that's the funny thing about the twist ending is that really wasn't something decided. They were trying to play. They were like after they almost everything was done. They were like, how do we put a Carrie twist on this? You know, 'cause
Yeah,
the Carrie
yeah,
twist with the hand and
Yeah.
stuff. You know, and they set you up for it, and they just let you stew. Had they not decided to do that, because it really wasn't, oh, well, we got to keep a character alive for part
Yeah.
two,
Yeah.
it was just trying to get one last scare. Had they not done that, we may not have one of the most iconic slasher characters in history.
Sure.
Yeah, Pam's in full crazy ass mode right now.
This is one of those movies with very minimalistic sound to not sound, music.
Score. Yeah.
Yeah, score.
Yeah, but the score is so...
Yeah, but it's that is just creepy.
But to me, that's part of the formula of what makes a slasher a slasher.
Yeah.
When you hear that,
Yeah.
you know some shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
And you know whoever's in that area, it's not going to end well for them.
To me, the score is a bit reminiscent of Bernard Herrmann's Psycho score.
Oh,
Yeah,
I won't
yeah.
say a ripoff, but I'd say
Definitely.
maybe
It's
an
inspired
homage.
by,
Yeah.
and the gentleman that actually did the
Certainly.
score for this even said that.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know,
I'm-
which Psycho could be
Harry
argued.
Manfredi? Is that it? Harry Manfredi is who did the score?
no idea.
I believe you might be right. But Psycho could be argued as a precursor to what we know as the slasher. It has almost all the elements you need.
Sure. Yeah.
Same thing with movies like The Prowler.
An iconic killer, certainly. And Norman Bates.
It always comes back to a mom and her boy.
It does, doesn't it?
Cinematographer.
That's why you gotta watch out for
Barry
Sammie.
Abrams. Why does that name sound familiar?
Boy, the pantry sure did get a lot of work in this film, didn't it? You really don't think about it.
Don't they in all summer camps?
Yeah. Yeah. You really don't start thinking about it till you really watch the film. And her logic for hiding up against the door, not probably the best idea.
Gotta have room for the camera.
Right.
Composer. Yeah. Harry Manfredini, I guess. Who also did House.
Which I like House.
Love House. The Dentist.
I just
Dong
bash
did
your head
that.
in.
Yeah.
Just end it.
Listen, kids, it always comes back to, in slasher films, at one point in time, the killer is getting it handed to them, and the person backs off.
And they always back off.
Just finish the job.
There's always an opportunity to end it.
Yeah,
And they never take it.
finish the job.
Yeah. Anybody doing music for films that tells you they're not aware of what Bernard Herrmann did or how he wrote or what he sounds like is lying off the top of their head.
Yeah.
I like that after she just, in her head, she beat Pam Voorhees to death. She thinks it's a good idea to go down to the lake.
Just have some
Yeah.
private time.
Some time for reflection.
So let me ask you, what do you guys think if they go ahead with a new reboot? What can this new movie do that not only pays homage to this iconic series, but brings something new to the table?
I would like to see them go back to when Jason was a boy, and right after the death, and you see Pam change.
Okay.
You know, she's went from this cook at a summer camp to has lost her boy. How does she spiral down and out of control to the point to where she's now murdering kids?
Pam origin story.
I would love to see that. That would make me happy because then I feel like you could set the franchise up however you would like from there.
That's true. You kind of really reboot the whole series.
Yeah. Huh. That is a good.
Catfight, yeah. Getting after it.
Poor Adrian King.
I don't know how effective slamming someone's face on the soft
Sad.
Yeah.
Made a nice
And now
little
Pam
insert.
realizes she's about to get it and doesn't even care.
And the head. The headshot.
Awesome.
Yeah, look at
The hands.
that's actually one of Savini's guys.
Oh, I can imagine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like man hands.
And this is where the franchise was supposed to, or the movie, I'm sorry, was supposed to end, but it's really where the franchise begins if you think about
Yeah,
it.
it really is.
You know, because like I said, most people, when you talk about Friday the 13th, Pam isn't even a secondary character.
Yep.
You know?
Well, she's only in it, what, 15 minutes at the most?
Yeah, but...
Well, her head shows up in.
Well, true.
I know.
And the sweater.
The sweater. Maybe they'll have an origin story for why her hands look like man hands.
It's all them years in the kitchen, man.
All that hard labor.
Yeah.
Pam can never keep a man. I don't know why. It's her hands, maybe.
I was always confused by why she went on the pond. But
fuck it.
it all
And
goes
put her
back to
hand
the
in the
fever
water.
dream. But I mean, really, where does the movie end and her fever dream begin? Because we know that this is just a dream sequence.
And probably the second best twist ending or jump scare ending behind Carrie.
Yeah, well,
you're
and this was
very-
directly ripped off from that.
You're very just,
Yeah.
nice music. And
Well,
Yeah.
we're coming. Here come the police.
and you have to love how
It's
long they
over now.
hold on. Like, when people watch this, they're like, "Oh, they're setting us up." The Carrie fans are like, "Oh, they're setting us up," and like even the Carrie fans are like, "Okay, well, I guess nothing's happening. They're setting up the screen to roll credits. You know, there's even room for credits."
Now, I was watching this not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago, with a teenager who's my sister-in-law, and this really got her. She thought this movie was totally over. She was not expecting.
Yeah, because you have to remember and
John
appreciate
Denver song.
the fact that this has only happened once or twice in other movies.
Now
Nowadays, you get it more
yeah.
often. Like you almost
Now
expect
it's
it.
overdone.
Fun fact: she did not see Army Liam before this happened, and the first time that he come up out of the water and they did that, she freaked out and jumped out of the boat. So they had to reset.
Someone bring a hairdryer.
Exactly. They had to blow dry her hair and start over.
It's all right now, fellas. It's over. Everything's over.
It's all right. It's all right. It's not a half-burned child jumping in the boat with you.
Which
You
is he
caught
half,
a big one, Adrian.
is he half burnt? Because how does that even come up?
Yeah.
Or is it rot from laying on the bottom of the pond? You know. And I love that in the next one, there's not a giant time lapse, and all of a sudden he's eating his Wheaties and he's this huge monster.
Yeah.
And he's all grown up.
He's eating his Wheaties.
Yes,
yes,
80s
he
reference.
has.
Yes, ma'am.
They're all dead. You're all doomed.
Thought you were dead, too.
It's got the death curse.
Do you remember very much?
Boy, is he dead too?
Who?
The
Who?
boy,
What?
Jason.
What? What boy? What are you talking about?
Jason?
In the lake, the one who attacked me, the one who pulled me underneath the water.
There's somebody somewhere has done
Find it.
the Jason in the river or in the pond.
Yeah, in Michigan.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
terrified
Oh, yeah, they
divers.
just left it there. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen that.
Kudos to them.
How cool
Yes.
is that? Yeah.
That's
Tremendously
smart
so.
thinking. That's commitment to a gag.
Which movie was that from where he gets chained?
Well, Tommy Jarvis puts him at the bottom of the
Yeah.
lake.
Okay, was that 4? Or
That's
Chained to concrete. It's 5, 4,
6.
5.
6?
Oh,
Okay.
six.
Because 5 is fake Jason. 4
Yeah.
is when we first meet Tommy Jarvis.
Yeah. And then
Is that right?
7's the one where he cuts him up in little pieces, right?
You know how this movie
No.
should have ended? The police should have been like, all right, you're under arrest for murdering all those people. You're the only survivor, so
Yeah. What do you mean?
we just assume you're the killer.
It's my favorite in the franchise.
I can see why it's good. I mean, it's a very fun movie.
I am with this kind of like I am Nightmare. It kind of flip flop between this one and 3.
I mean, you have to love 3
Now, I
because
like-
it starts a whole. To me, after this, once you get into Baghead Jason, part 2, really, it's just a brutal guy walking around murdering people, and then 3's really when he becomes what
Yeah.
you think of as Jason.
Sure.
And I really like Freddy vs. Jason.
I enjoyed it. I don't think that they could have done it, and I know a lot of people are upset with that film because they don't feel like there was any real definitive answers. But can there really be?
No, I mean
It was a
that's the way
fun
to do it.
film, and you got to see them on both sides.
Yeah.
You got to see Jason inside of the dream world, and I love where he's beating the girls up against the tree in the sleeping bags, and they just won't die. Like, how frustrating is that for Jason in that moment? Like, wait, normally this works.
Well, that's going to wrap up our conversation on Friday the 13th. Any final thoughts, guys?
It's one of the most iconic horror movies of all time.
Sure. Definitely a
It
trendsetter.
may
for the
not
80s.
hold up as well as Halloween, but I mean it's still good in its way. And Jason will forever be one of the great villains of all time.
Sure.
Because there's nothing. Michael's kind of a person. Jason
It's more of a thing.
is more of a thing.
Yeah, which never really get explained other than the slug.
Yeah.
You know.
But it how do you stop an okay, if Michael is a force of evil, Jason is a force of nature.
Sure.
He's just an unstoppable force.
He's a machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Once he gets rolling,
Yep.
he's a murderer.
Yep.
That's just the
Killing
way
machine.
it is. For me, how I see this film, I would have to say that the original Halloween is probably the first slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that puts it all together. You have iconic music, you have an iconic killer with a driven force of why he's doing what he's doing. This here starts off when I say this here, I mean Friday the 13th, starts off on one of the longest running story slasher lines that there is.
Yeah.
And really, what I love about the film is Jason's not even in the first one.
Yeah.
Really, other than at the very end.
And then it's a kid, Jason.
Yeah, it's a kid Jason who's really murdered nobody. And it's sparked this whole franchise. You know, gotta love Pam. Mother's love.
Like the silhouette here of the person holding. I say person because you kind of want to just instinctively say man, but they take pretty good pains not to show a chest.
No. Yeah, you're right. But, like I was saying and wrapping up on my thought, the kills in this movie, they're what you think of when you think of quintessential slasher films.
Absolutely.
Sure, absolutely.
Those big payoff moments,
Yep.
people catching axes in the face, and
Yeah.
slit throats and all that fun stuff, you know.
And there's very few people in that time that could have done that besides Tom.
Right. I don't disagree with you at all on that.
For my love-hate relationship with Tom, it's his work is unmatched, especially in that time frame.
Well, Matt, where can our listeners find more of you and your work?
Plug anything, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not normally one to plug myself. Kersey Valley, you could certainly find me there. I'm on Facebook. I do lots of music videos, lots of independent films and photo shoots.
The first
and
time
stuff
Matt
like
and I
that.
met was on set right down here for a Black Label Society video.
Yeah.
And I show up with a clown. You could have either been a clown or you could have been a carny. And we had 1,000 clowns here. So I think Matt appreciated the fact that it was like, okay, I'll play a carny. That's okay. Then he takes me outside and throws dirt at me.
There was a very funny story behind that. That day was one of the first real times that I had a lot of responsibility put on me. Joe Harp was actually off on set managing the makeups, and we thought that we were both going to be up there to get all these extras. And there was a ton of extras for that video. And people showed up late, as always, and I'm trying to get people into makeup and costume. And I took one look at Sammie, and I was like, I like it. You handle the elephant dung. Come on outside real quick. And instantly, he was like, I'm cool with that. I was like, I like this guy.
And then one of my favorite, and it's more appropriate for this one than this podcast and anything else. The second time we worked together, I show up on set to do Kill Giggles proof of concept stuff. And I walk in the door, and it's the second time Matt's met me. And I walk in the door, and he looks and goes, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
And I looked kind of weird, and he said, I love your head. And Joe just turns around and looks at him and just kind of shakes his head and just keeps right on
I was
working.
like, I got your makeup. I know what I'm going to do.
Let's go. I think we're kindred spirits here.
You're the elephant dung guy.
Yeah, well, it's funny because anybody that's ever worked on set, there's some people when you see them, you instantly make a connection, and they're willing to do the work that needs to be done, so it makes your life that much easier. And I knew what we were doing with his character for the Kill Giggles thing, and I was like, perfect. I don't have to worry about this makeup. He's down for whatever I'm going to do to him.
Whatever we're going to do. Let's go.
Yeah, so you asked where you could find me. I worked on a film that I was very, very fortunate to work on called Phantasma. It's directed by Brett Mullen. It's coming out on a national release here at the very beginning of November, after they do the release of. Why did I just lose the name of that movie? Suspiria.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, so it's coming out shortly after that. I believe you're going to be able to find it at Walmart. It'll be on Amazon. I think that like Redbox is going to carry it.
Very cool.
So
Nice.
keep your eyes out for that. It was one of the very first feature films I've got to work on.
Good movie.
And if you like some gore, let me tell you, there's some gore in that film for you. So
I was at the premiere. It was it's a very good movie.
thank
I have a poster.
Brett
Should have
Mullins.
let him. I was meant to get everybody to sign it.
yeah, and that was the special effects team was led by Joe Harp, which if anybody in the area, if you know the name of Joe Harp, you know you're getting gold. So you can find me there or some of my work there, and also with it being the month of October, go visit your local haunts, support the local haunts, even if you're so far out that you can't get to our haunts.
Yeah.
Go out, support those guys. There's a lot of good art going on at those haunted houses, and they really think about how to deliver gore in a setting where you have to do it 900 times a night. You know, so if you're into those kind of things, please go out, support local haunted houses. They will appreciate it, and you might pee your pants.
That's the best feeling in the world. I just peed.
So,
Very cool. Sammie, where can our listeners find more of you?
I'm stuck in the woods, just like Matt. You can find me this weekend at the Original Hollywood Horror Show. We have a big festival Saturday with vendors and hopefully lots and lots of people. We've had a good turnout over the past couple of years. And other than that, you can still check out Sammie the Comic Book Man on Facebook page and all the social media at Sammie Castle.
Very cool. We're on.
I got movies coming up. Let me plug Dark Trepidation 2.
Cool.
Which we had a table read for last weekend. We're headlong into that. Backwoods Bubba 3, which I will film in a couple of weeks. I think there's something else I'm forgetting, but go ahead.
I'm sure I just probably. all kinds of
Countdown to
stuff.
Midnight.
Countdown to
Need
Midnight.
extras. November 10th.
November 10th in Greensboro. Feel free to email us for further information on that. ReCapitProductions@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at Recapit Productions. I'm on Twitter at Hank vs. the Undead. And just check out all the things that we're up to at our website, ReCapitProductions.com. So, this will mark the end of our horror movie series in October, and we'll
We
be back in-
normally go every other week. October we do every week.
Every week, yeah.
Because we both love horror so
Yeah,
much.
so we'll be back in 2 weeks with a normal episode, and yeah, we'll see you then.